Kofi was a man drowning in wealth. His life revolved around a sprawling mansion, guarded by imposing gates and surrounded by meticulously manicured gardens. As a billionaire, he held dominion over a financial empire of companies and banks that stretched across the nation. His name was synonymous with success, a household name whispered with a mixture of awe and envy. When his extravagant cars graced the streets, people would pause, offering waves of acknowledgement to the man who seemingly had it all. Yet, unbeknownst to Kofi, danger had already breached the towering gates, settling within the very walls of his opulent home. For a decade, Kofi had been married to Amma, a woman whose beauty was legendary. Her skin was flawless. Her eyes sparkled with captivating brilliance. She adorned herself in the latest fashions from the fashion capitals of Paris and London, and her jewelry blazed with a celestial fire. Together, they were a vision of perfection. Cameras flashed, and murmurs followed their every move. "Look at them," people would say, their voices tinged with admiration. "What a perfect couple. What a beautiful life they must share." But behind the facade of their grand mansion, a starkly different reality played out. The warmth that once defined Amma's affection for Kofi had gradually withered. The smiles that had once lit up her face when she looked at him were now rare. The simple gestures of affection, holding his hand, inquiring about his day, had vanished. When Kofi returned home, weary from the demands of his vast business empire, Amma barely acknowledged his presence, her attention perpetually absorbed by her phone. She existed in a constant state of detachment, her mind seemingly preoccupied with matters far removed from their shared life. Kofi, desperate to rekindle the flame of their love, showered Amma with material possessions. He gifted her more jewelry, added to her collection of luxury cars, and acquired houses in exotic locations around the globe. He whisked her away on lavish vacations to pristine islands, where white sands met crystal-clear waters. He provided her with credit cards that had no spending limits, hoping to fill the void within her with endless possibilities. Yet, nothing seemed to satisfy her insatiable desires. Her eyes, once bright with love, remained perpetually empty, her heart untouched by the extravagant displays of affection. In a desperate attempt to alleviate Amma's complaints about managing their expansive home, Kofi decided to hire a maid. Amma had insisted that the mansion was too large for her to handle alone, that she required assistance with the cooking and cleaning. So, Kofi placed an advertisement, and numerous women responded, eager for the opportunity. Among them, one young woman stood out. ACI. ACI possessed a quiet dignity and a humble demeanor, her kind eyes reflecting a spirit that resonated with sincerity. Hailing from a remote village far removed from the city's glittering lights, ACI had experienced a life starkly different from the one within Kofi's mansion. Her village lacked electricity and clean water, and its inhabitants struggled daily against the harsh realities of poverty. ACI's mother was afflicted with a severe illness that demanded expensive medicine and treatment at the city hospital, resources far beyond the reach of her impoverished family. Driven by a fierce determination to save her mother, ACI made the difficult decision to leave her village and seek work in the city. The journey to the city was arduous, spanning 2 long days on crowded buses and rickety trucks. The city was a world she had never known before, its towering buildings reaching towards the sky, its cars whizzing by in a blur of speed, its streets teeming with more people than her entire village. Overwhelmed by the unfamiliar sights and sounds, and with nowhere to sleep, ACI spent 3 nights huddled under a bridge alongside other displaced individuals, battling fear and loneliness. Despite her circumstances, ACI refused to surrender. Each day, she tirelessly searched for work, approaching restaurants, shops, and houses with unwavering determination. Many doors were slammed in her face, some accompanied by harsh words, but she persisted, fueled by the hope of saving her mother's life. When ACI saw Kofi's advertisement for a maid, she offered a silent prayer, pleading for the opportunity to help her ailing mother. Dressed in her only presentable dress, a faded garment that spoke of her humble circumstances, she went for the interview. During the interview, Kofi was struck by ACI's direct gaze. her eyes unwavering and sincere. She spoke with honesty, never looking down or away. Kofi asked her probing questions, seeking to understand her motivations, her family situation, and her experience with housework. ACI responded truthfully, recounting her mother's illness, her village's poverty, and her commitment to hard work. She vowed to be honest and diligent, asking only for a chance to prove herself and provide for her family. Something about ACI touched Kofi's heart. Perhaps it was her genuine eyes, her humble spirit, or the profound love she expressed for her mother. Whatever the reason, Kofi decided to offer her the job, informing her that she could start the following day. Overwhelmed with gratitude, ACI fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, sir," she sobbed. "Thank you so much. I promise to work very hard." The following morning, ACI arrived at Kofi's mansion before sunrise, ready to begin her new life. The mansion, the largest house she had ever seen, boasted 20 rooms, 5 bathrooms, a swimming pool, and gardens bursting with a kaleidoscope of colors. The sheer opulence was staggering, a world apart from the simple existence she knew. In her village, 10 families lived in houses smaller than Kofi's kitchen. Yet, instead of envy, ACI felt grateful for the opportunity before her. The initial days were challenging as ACI navigated the unfamiliar world of modern appliances. She had never encountered a washing machine or a vacuum cleaner, having grown up washing clothes by hand in the river and sweeping floors with bundles of grass. But ACI possessed a sharp mind and a willingness to learn. She observed carefully, asked questions, and quickly mastered her new responsibilities. Within a week, she was performing her duties flawlessly. ACI's work ethic surpassed that of any maid Kofi had previously employed. She rose at 5 a.m. each day, meticulously cleaning every room until it gleamed. She prepared delicious meals that evoked memories of Kofi's grandmother's cooking, and she flawlessly laundered and ironed all the clothes. Never uttering a complaint or requesting a break, she remained consistently polite and respectful. Kofi was deeply impressed, but Amma harbored a growing resentment towards the new maid. From the moment ACI arrived, Amma eyed her with suspicion. She disliked ACI's humble demeanor, her tireless work ethic, and the praise Kofi showered upon her cooking. Despite ACI's status as a poor village girl, Amma felt threatened, unsettled by the young woman's presence in her home. Amma began to mistreat ACI, subjecting her to demeaning tasks such as cleaning the same room multiple times. She would complain about the food, finding fault with the seasoning, and she would lash out at ACI for minor, inconsequential errors. When Kofi was absent, Amma's true nature surfaced, revealing a mean and cruel disposition. Yet, ACI remained steadfast, responding with increased diligence, quietness, and respect. 3 months into ACI's employment, a strange pattern began to emerge. A man named Kwame started visiting the mansion during the day, while Kofi was away at work. Kwame was a tall, handsome man with a charming manner of speaking. The first time he appeared, Amma introduced him to ACI as her cousin, explaining that he was visiting from another city. However, ACI sensed an underlying tension. The way Amma and Kwame looked at each other suggested a connection far deeper than that of mere cousins. Their eyes exchanged secrets, their smiles were too broad, and their laughter rang with a forced quality. When they believed they were unobserved, Kwame would subtly touch Amma's hand, and Amma would lean in close to whisper in his ear. ACI recognized that their behavior was inappropriate, but she kept her observations to herself. Kwame's visits became increasingly frequent. Initially, he arrived once a week, then twice, and eventually almost daily. He would arrive in his lavish car soon after Kofi departed for work, and he would remain for hours. ACI would sometimes overhear their laughter emanating from the living room, and on occasion, they would retreat to the bedroom, locking the door behind them. ACI's heart grew heavy with suspicion. One day, while cleaning near the living room, ACI overheard a conversation between Amma and Kwame. Unaware of her presence, Kwame asked, "When are you going to leave him?" Amma responded, "I can't just leave. I need to secure the money first." If I divorce him, I'll get nothing. We need a better plan, one that ensures I get everything. Sei's hands trembled as she listened, her mind racing with apprehension. Kwame lowered his voice, asking, "What kind of plan are you envisioning?" Amma chuckled softly, replying, "A plan where Kofi is no longer in the picture, where he can't prevent us from being together, where all his wealth becomes mine, and mine becomes ours. Do you understand?" Silence hung in the air before Kwame cautiously replied, "That's incredibly risky, Amma. Are you certain?" Amma responded with unwavering resolve. "I'm absolutely certain. I'm tired of pretending." Sei's heart pounded in her chest, threatening to burst from her ribs. What were they plotting? Were they planning to harm Kofi? Were they contemplating murder? Sei was consumed by the urge to run and warn Kofi immediately, but she hesitated, fearing that they would deny everything, dismiss her as a liar, or worse, that Amma would fire her, leaving her unable to provide for her mother's medical needs. As days turned into weeks, Sei observed Amma with heightened vigilance. She noticed Amma's newfound interest in Kofi's schedule. Amma would pepper him with questions about his business meetings. "When is your big conference? What time will you be home? Will you be traveling next week?" Kofi, delighted by his wife's apparent interest in his life, was oblivious to her true intentions. Sei, however, recognized the sinister nature of Amma's inquiries. One evening, while watering the flowers in the garden, Sei overheard Amma speaking on the phone. Amma said, "I found it the perfect thing. It's tasteless and odorless. He'll never suspect a thing. It will appear to be a heart attack, natural causes. No one will question it. We just need to wait for the opportune moment, the perfect day when everything aligns. Then we'll be free and rich." A wave of nausea washed over Sei as the implications of Amma's words sank in. She was certain that Amma was planning to poison Kofi, to murder her own husband for financial gain. How could someone be so heartless? How could a wife betray her husband in such a despicable manner? Sei retreated to her small room, overcome with despair. She thought of her own mother, enduring illness and suffering, yet never contemplating harming another for monetary gain. That night, sleep eluded Sei as she wrestled with the weight of her discovery. Should she confide in Kofi? Should she seek help from the police? Or should she simply resign and leave the mansion, washing her hands of the situation? But if she left, who would protect Kofi? And if she quit, how would she afford her mother's medicine? Sei turned to prayer, imploring for guidance, for courage, and for the protection of Master Kofi from harm. The following morning, Sei resolved to watch Amma even more closely, vowing to remain by her side and safeguard Kofi, regardless of the personal cost. Her mother had instilled in her the belief that silence in the face of evil makes one complicit in the act. Sei refused to remain silent. She would not allow an innocent man to perish. She would be brave no matter the consequences. For 2 weeks, an eerie calm prevailed. Amma behaved normally, and Kwame ceased his visits to the house. Sei began to question whether she had misinterpreted the situation, whether Amma was merely contemplating leaving Kofi and taking money in a divorce. Perhaps she had allowed her imagination to run wild. Yet, deep within her heart, she knew the truth. Something ominous was on the horizon. Then, one Friday afternoon, Kofi returned home early from work, appearing weary and distressed. He informed Amma that he was suffering from a severe headache and that a major business deal had collapsed, resulting in significant financial losses. He expressed his need to rest and contemplate his next course of action, and he retired to the bedroom without eating dinner. Amma's eyes lit up at the news, a chilling glint of anticipation flickering within them. She instructed Sei to clean the guest rooms upstairs. Sei acknowledged the request and began to ascend the stairs, but something in Amma's tone aroused her suspicion. Amma sounded uncharacteristically sweet and caring. Instead of cleaning the guest rooms, Sei positioned herself at the top of the staircase, where she could observe the kitchen below through the railings. She watched as Amma entered the kitchen and closed the door, leaving a small gap through which Sei could see. Amma retrieved a beautiful china cup, Kofi's favorite, which he always used for his evening tea. Amma filled a kettle with water and placed it on the stove. ACI watched as the water came to a boil and Amma prepared the tea, adding a tea bag and sugar. She stirred the mixture slowly, then cautiously surveyed the kitchen, peeking out the door to ensure that she was alone. She did not notice ACI concealed in the shadows above. Satisfied that she was unobserved, Amma returned to the counter where the tea was steeping. She reached into her designer handbag and produced a small glass bottle, no larger than her thumb, capped with a white lid. Amma held the bottle up to the light and examined it, a sinister smile creeping across her face. This was it, the poison she had discussed on the phone. ACI's body froze, her breath catching in her throat. She watched, paralyzed, as Amma unscrewed the cap of the bottle, revealing a white powder that resembled sugar or salt. Amma tilted the bottle over Kofi's cup of tea and poured the white powder into the hot liquid, emptying almost the entire contents. She then replaced the cap and concealed the bottle back in her purse. Amma stirred the tea thoroughly, dissolving the white powder until it was no longer visible. The tea now appeared perfectly normal, concealing the deadly substance within. Amma raised the cup to her nose and inhaled its aroma. She smiled, then placed the cup on a small tray with a napkin, ready to deliver it to Kofi. ACI's mind raced, desperately searching for a way to intervene. If she ran downstairs, Amma would hide the cup. If she went to alert Kofi, Amma would discard the poisoned tea and prepare a fresh cup later. ACI needed to catch Amma in the act, to ensure that Kofi witnessed his wife's treachery firsthand. But how? Think. ACI think. Amma picked up the tray with the poisoned tea and exited the kitchen, heading towards the bedroom where Kofi was resting. Her high heels clicked against the marble floor, each step bringing her closer to her husband's demise. Click, click, click. ACI's heart pounded in her ears as she made a snap decision. Throwing caution to the wind, she dashed down the stairs, her thoughts consumed by a single purpose: saving Kofi's life. She had to prevent him from drinking that tea, and she had to act now before it was too late. Her feet flew down the stairs, two at a time, fueled by adrenaline and a fierce determination to do what was right. Amma reached the bedroom door, balancing the tray on one hand as she gently knocked. "Come in," Kofi's tired voice responded from within. Amma pushed the door open with her shoulder and entered the bedroom, carrying the poisoned tea. Kofi was sitting up in bed, his head resting against the headboard. His eyes were closed, and he appeared weary and vulnerable. Amma walked slowly towards the bed, a practiced, saccharine smile gracing her face, the smile of a loving wife bringing comfort to her ailing husband. "My dear," she said softly, "I've brought you some tea. It will help with your headache. You'll feel better after you drink it. Just relax and drink it all." Kofi opened his eyes and offered a weak smile. "Thank you, my dear. You're so thoughtful." He reached out to take the cup from the tray, his fingers almost touching it. Amma held the tray steady, poised to complete her deadly plan. In just 2 more seconds, the cup would be in his hands. In 2 minutes, the poison would enter his system. And in 2 hours, Kofi would be dead, leaving Amma a wealthy widow, free to be with Kwame, free to enjoy Kofi's vast fortune. Everything was proceeding according to plan. But then, the door burst open, and ACI came running into the room, her eyes wide with fear, her chest heaving from exertion, and her hands trembling uncontrollably. Both Kofi and Amma turned to stare at her in utter disbelief. What was the maid doing, barging into the master bedroom in such a manner? Had she lost her mind? Her behavior was disrespectful and incomprehensible. Before anyone could utter a word, before anyone could demand an explanation, ACI opened her mouth and screamed. Her voice resonated with a raw, desperate energy. A scream born from the depths of her soul, fueled by courage and a desperate plea for help. "Don't drink it, Master Kofi. Please don't drink that tea. Don't drink it, sir. Please." The scream echoed throughout the mansion, stopping Kofi's hand in midair. He recoiled, staring at ACI with utter confusion. What was she talking about? What was wrong with the tea? Amma's face underwent a dramatic transformation, the sweet smile vanishing, replaced by a hardened, angry expression. The tray trembled in her hands, the teacup rattling against the saucer. A palpable sense of danger filled the room. Amma's voice, now cold and venomous, hissed. "What is the meaning of this? How dare you burst into this room like a crazy person? Have you completely lost your mind? Get out of here immediately. This is incredibly disrespectful. I'll fire you. Get out." Amma's face was flushed with rage, her eyes blazing with fury. She appeared poised to strike ACI, but ACI stood her ground, unwavering. Summoning her courage, ACI locked eyes with Kofi. "Master Kofi, please sir, listen to me," she pleaded. "Do not drink that tea. Your wife put something in it. I saw her with my own eyes. She poured white powder from a small bottle into your cup. I saw everything, sir. Please believe me. The tea is not safe. Please do not drink it." Tears streamed down ACI's cheeks as silence descended upon the room, so profound that the sound of a pin dropping would have been deafening. Kofi's gaze shifted from the cup of tea in Amma's hands to his wife's face, then back to ACI. His mind struggled to process the unfolding events. Why would his wife attempt to poison him? It defied logic. But why would ACI lie? She had always been honest and industrious. Why would she fabricate such a heinous accusation? Amma's voice rose in pitch, her words laced with desperation. "She's lying. Can't you see she's lying? This foolish village girl is jealous of me. She wants to destroy our marriage. She wants you for herself. She's been giving you suggestive glances when I'm not looking. I've seen her. She's a witch, trying to tear our family apart. Don't believe her lies, Kofi. She's evil." But Kofi was not a fool. He had amassed his fortune through shrewd judgment and keen observation. He scrutinized his wife's face as she spoke, noting the panic in her eyes, the tremor in her hands, and the beads of sweat forming on her forehead, despite the cool temperature of the room. He noticed her tongue dart out to nervously moisten her lips. These were not the signs of an innocent woman. They were the telltale signs of someone caught in a lie. Kofi rose slowly from the bed, his headache forgotten, his weariness banished. His entire being was focused on the unfolding drama. He approached Amma with deliberate steps, his face devoid of emotion, like a judge about to deliver a verdict. "Amma, give me the cup. Give it to me right now," he commanded, his voice calm but firm. It was not a request, but an order. Amma recoiled, her eyes darting around the room like those of a cornered animal. "This is absurd, Kofi. How can you believe a maid over me? Someone you've been married to for 10 years? Someone who has stood by your side through thick and thin? How can you doubt me based on the words of a stranger? This is insulting, Kofi. I'm hurt, deeply hurt by your lack of trust. Give me the cup, Amma," Kofi repeated, his voice hardening, his eyes growing colder. "I won't ask again. Give me that cup right now or I'll take it from you." Amma clutched the tray tighter to her chest, the tea sloshing precariously in the cup, some of it spilling onto the tray. Her breathing became rapid and shallow, her eyes darting about the room in search of an escape. But there was no escape. Kofi was blocking the door. Kofi reached out and seized the tray, wresting it from Amma's grasp. Some of the tea spilled onto the floor. Kofi held the cup aloft, examining it closely. It appeared to be ordinary tea smelling of ordinary tea. But if ACI was telling the truth, this seemingly harmless beverage contained a lethal poison, designed to stop his heart and end his life. ACI spoke once more, her voice thick with tears. "Master," she took the bottle from her handbag, the small bottle with the white powder. "If you check her bag, you'll find it. I saw her put it back after she poured the poison in your tea. Please, sir, check the bag. Then you'll know I'm telling the truth. I swear on my mother's life that I saw what I saw." Kofi turned his gaze towards Amma's designer handbag, which was resting on the dresser near the door. Amma's face drained of color, turning ashen. "No," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You can't go through my personal things. That's private, Kofi. You have no right." That's an invasion of my privacy. I'm your wife. You should trust me. You should believe me. Not some village nobody who cleans our toilets. But Kofi was already striding towards the handbag. Amma lunged forward, attempting to intercept him, but Kofi gently pushed her aside. He picked up the bag and rummaged through its contents, finding makeup, car keys, credit cards, a phone, and tissues. He delved deeper, his fingers searching for the small glass bottle. He felt something small and hard pressed against his fingers. Curious, Kofi withdrew it from the depths of the bag. It was a tiny glass vial, sealed with a stark white cap. Inside, nestled against the glass, was a fine white powder, exactly as Essie had described. Kofi held the vial aloft, his gaze fixed on Amma. "What is this, Amma?" His voice trembled, betraying the turmoil within him. "What is this doing in your bag?" Amma's mouth worked soundlessly, opening and closing like a fish gasping for water. She struggled to speak, but her throat seemed to have seized. Her face, a mask of pure, unadulterated terror, told the story words could not. She had been caught, unequivocally, red-handed. There was no escape now, no clever lie to conjure, no plausible explanation to offer. The damning evidence was there, suspended in Kofi's hand, exposed for all to see. With a sudden, dramatic collapse, Amma's knees buckled, and she crumpled to the floor. The strong, self-assured woman, usually radiating an aura of arrogance and power, seemed to shrink, becoming small and utterly pathetic in an instant. She reached out, grabbing desperately at Kofi's legs. "I am sorry," she sobbed, her voice thick with anguish. "I am so sorry, my husband. Please, forgive me. I don't know what came over me. I wasn't thinking straight. Please, Kofi, please have mercy. Don't call the police. Think of our 10 years together. Think of everything we've shared, everything we've built. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. Please, forgive me." Kofi recoiled, wrenching his legs away from her grasping hands. He stepped back as if she were contaminated, something filthy he couldn't bear to touch. His face, a canvas of conflicting emotions, displayed a profound disgust mingled with a palpable heartbreak. 10 years, he said quietly, his voice laced with disbelief and pain. 10 years I loved you. 10 years I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me? You try to kill me. Why, Amma? Just tell me why. What did I do to deserve this? Did I not give you everything your heart desired? Amma was now consumed by sobs, tears streaming down her face in earnest. But Kofi remained unmoved, his heart hardened against her pleas. He walked with grim purpose to the telephone and dialed the number of his personal physician, Dr. Mensah. The doctor, a trusted friend and confidant, lived just a short 10-minute drive away. Kofi, his voice tight with urgency, instructed him to come immediately. It was an emergency, he insisted. He needed something tested without delay. Dr. Mensah, recognizing the grave tone in Kofi's voice, assured him that he would be there as quickly as possible, asking no questions. While they waited for the doctor's arrival, Kofi placed calls to his lawyer and his head of security. He summoned them to the house with equal urgency, explaining that something terrible had transpired and he needed their immediate presence. Finally, Kofi sank heavily into a chair, his gaze fixed on the cup of tea, the poisoned chalice that had so nearly ended his life. The realization that his wife of 10 years, the woman he had loved and cherished, had attempted to murder him was a crushing blow. His own wife, the woman he had trusted above all others, had betrayed him in the most horrific way imaginable. He felt as though his heart was shattering into a million irreparable pieces. Essie remained standing quietly in the corner of the room, unsure of whether she should stay or discreetly leave. But Kofi, noticing her hesitation, looked at her and said, "Stay, Essie. I need you to stay and tell everyone exactly what you saw, what you heard. You saved my life today, AC. I will never forget that. Never." Essie nodded silently and remained where she was. Amma continued to sob and beg on the floor, but her desperate pleas fell on deaf ears. Dr. Mensah arrived within 10 minutes, his face etched with concern. He was a short, distinguished man with graying hair and eyes that held a wealth of wisdom and experience. He had been Kofi's doctor for many years, and a deep bond of trust existed between them. When he entered the bedroom and took in the scene, Amma weeping hysterically on the floor, Kofi looking utterly devastated, and Essie standing rigidly in the corner, he knew instinctively that something profoundly serious had occurred. Kofi, without preamble, handed him the cup of tea and the small vial. "Please, doctor, test these immediately. Tell me what's in them." The doctor accepted the items carefully, his brow furrowed with concern. He held the vial up to the light, examining its contents with a discerning eye. His face grew increasingly grave. "Mr. Kofi, where did you get this vial? This looks like poison. I need to take this to my laboratory right away and run a full analysis. If you were planning to drink this tea, thank God you didn't. Just from looking at this vial, I can tell you that this is extremely dangerous. Give me an hour to test everything properly." Dr. Mensah departed quickly, clutching the cup and the vial with the utmost care. Shortly after, the lawyer arrived. Mr. O.C., as he was known, was an older gentleman who had been providing Kofi with legal counsel and guidance for over 20 years. His face immediately reflected the gravity of the situation. "Mr. Kofi, this is attempted murder, a very serious crime. We must call the police immediately. You cannot handle this alone. This must go through the legal system, and your wife must face justice for what she has done." Kofi's head of security, a powerfully built man named Ya, also arrived. Upon hearing the story from Kofi, a wave of anger washed over him. "How could Madame Amma do this after everything you've given her? This is wickedness, pure evil. Boss, let me call the police right now. This woman belongs in prison. She tried to kill you. If not for this brave maid, you would be dead, and she would be enjoying your money." Kofi held up his hand, silencing Ya. "Wait," he said, his voice weary. "Let us wait for the doctor's results first. I want scientific proof before we involve the police. I want to be absolutely certain." Even though his heart was already convinced of Amma's guilt, his mind desperately clung to the hope that there might be some other explanation, some way out of this nightmare. He wanted concrete evidence, irrefutable proof of exactly what Amma had put in that tea. He needed to know precisely how close to death he had come. While they waited, Kofi turned his attention to Essie. "Sit down, child," he said gently, his voice filled with gratitude. "You've been standing for so long. Sit and tell me everything from the beginning. Tell me everything you've seen and heard in this house. Take your time. I want to know everything." Essie sat down nervously on the edge of a chair. She had never sat in the master's bedroom before. With Kofi's urging, she began to tell her story. She told him about Kwame, about how he came to the house almost every day when Kofi was at work. She described how Amma introduced him as her cousin, but that they did not act like cousins. She described the way they looked at each other with secret smiles. She recounted how they would lock themselves in rooms for hours, about the conversations she had overheard, conversations about getting rid of Kofi and taking all his money. Kofi listened intently to every word, his hands gripping the arms of his chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His jaw clenched, and a vein pulsed visibly in his forehead. So there was another man involved. Of course there was. It all made sense now. Amma didn't just want him dead for the money. She wanted him dead so she could be with her lover. The betrayal was even deeper, more multifaceted than he had initially imagined. Double betrayal. Adultery compounded by attempted murder. Lawyer O.C. was meticulously writing everything down in his notebook, his pen scratching furiously across the page. "This Kwame man," he said, his voice grim. "We need to find him too. He is undoubtedly part of this conspiracy. He is an accessory to attempted murder at the very least. Both of them must face justice. Where does this Kwame live? What is his full name?" Essie shook her head, her eyes downcast. She didn't know. She had never heard his full name or his address. He just came and went, always in an expensive car, always impeccably dressed in stylish suits. "Amma," who had been uncharacteristically silent for a while, suddenly spoke up. Her voice was filled with desperation and a raw, palpable panic. "Kwame has nothing to do with this," she cried, her eyes pleading. "Leave him out of this. This was all my idea, mine alone. He didn't know anything about the poison, I swear. Please do not involve him. This is all my fault, only mine." Even now, even after everything, she was trying to protect her lover. Her loyalty to Kwame, it seemed, remained unwavering. Kofi laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that echoed through the room. "So, you confess that you acted alone in trying to kill me? You just admitted your guilt, Amma. Everyone in this room heard you. You said it was your idea, your fault. Thank you for the confession. That will make the case very easy for the police." Amma's eyes widened in horror as she realized the enormity of her mistake in trying to shield Kwame. In her desperate attempt to protect him, she had incriminated herself completely. There was no taking back her words now. Exactly 1 hour later, Dr. Mensah returned, his face grim and lined with concern. He carried a stack of papers, the laboratory results, in his hand. Everyone in the room gathered around him, their breath held in anticipation. The room fell into a tense silence. The doctor looked at Kofi with sad, compassionate eyes. "Mr. Kofi, I have very bad news. That tea contained a very strong poison. It's called cyanide. It's one of the most deadly poisons known to man. Even a very small amount can kill quickly and painfully." The doctor continued, his voice somber. "If you had drunk that entire cup of tea, you would have died within 1 to 2 hours. First, you would have felt dizzy, then experienced severe stomach pain. Your heart would have started beating irregularly, followed by difficulty breathing, then unconsciousness, and finally, death. It would have looked like a heart attack to anyone who didn't know better. A very clever way to murder someone and make it look like natural causes." The room erupted in a cacophony of shock and outrage. Yul began shouting at Amma, his face contorted with fury. "You are a demon, a witch. How could you do this to a man who gave you everything? You deserve to rot in prison." Lawyer OC was already on his phone, dialing the number for the police. "We have a clear-cut case of attempted murder with ample evidence and multiple witnesses. Send officers to this location immediately." Dr. Mensah simply shook his head sadly. He had seen many things in his long and distinguished career, but this level of calculated evil shocked even him. Amma collapsed completely, dissolving into a puddle of despair on the floor. She lay there sobbing uncontrollably, her body racked with tremors. "My life is over," she wailed. "Everything is over. I'm going to prison. Oh God! What have I done? What have I done?" But no one felt sorry for her. She had shown no mercy when planning to poison her husband. Why should anyone show her mercy now? She had made her bed of evil, and now she would have to lie in it. Within 20 minutes, 3 police officers arrived at the mansion, led by Inspector Boateng, a serious, no-nonsense man with a thick mustache and an air of authority. He listened intently as Kofi recounted the events of the day. He listened to Essie's testimony, his expression becoming increasingly grim. He examined the laboratory results from Dr. Mensah, carefully documenting the evidence. He examined the vial of poison and the cup of tea, taking photographs of everything. It was one of the clearest cases of attempted murder he had ever encountered. Inspector Boateng turned to Amma, his voice cold and official. "Madam Amma, you are under arrest for the attempted murder of your husband, Mr. Kofi. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." 2 of the police officers lifted Amma from the floor. They placed handcuffs on her wrists, the metal clicking shut with a final, decisive sound. Amma's expensive diamond bracelets jangled incongruously against the cheap metal of the handcuffs, a stark visual representation of her fall from grace. A rich woman brought low by her own evil deeds. "Wait," Kofi said to the inspector, his voice firm. "There is someone else involved in this, a man named Kwame. He has been having an affair with my wife, and they plotted this together. He comes here regularly when I am at work. I don't know his full name or his address, But my wife does. She can tell you. He turned to Amma, his eyes filled with a mixture of anger and disappointment. Amma, if you have any decency left, tell them where to find Kwame. Let him face justice, too. Amma looked at Kofi, tears streaming down her face. I am sorry, Kofi, she sobbed. I am truly sorry for everything. You deserved better than this. You were always good to me, and I repaid you with evil. I was blinded by greed and lust. I lost my way. She gave the police Kwame's full name and address. Kwame Boma. He lives in the Garden Hills apartments on the west side of the city. Apartment 307. Inspector Boateng immediately radioed for backup. Send units to Garden Hills Apartments, West Side, Apartment 307. Suspect named Kwame Boma, male, involved in attempted murder conspiracy. Approach with caution. He may attempt to flee. The radio crackled back with confirmation. Units on the way. We will apprehend him. Inspector Boateng nodded in satisfaction. Both conspirators would be in custody within the hour. Justice would be served. The police led Amma out of the bedroom, her steps slow and hesitant, her head hanging low in shame. Her expensive high heels clicked on the marble floor for the last time. Click, click, click. But now the sound was different. It was no longer the confident, self-assured click of a wealthy woman. It was the sound of a criminal being led away to face punishment. As she passed Essie, Amma stopped. She looked at the young maid with something that resembled respect. You are braver than I ever was, Essie, Amma said quietly. You did what was right, even though you could have lost everything. I did what was wrong, even though I had everything. You are the better person. Thank you for stopping me. I would have had blood on my hands. I would have become a murderer. You saved me from that too. Then she walked on, and the police escorted her to the waiting car. The neighbors emerged from their houses, their faces a mixture of shock and morbid curiosity, to witness the spectacle of the billionaire's wife in handcuffs being led away in a police vehicle. Within 30 minutes, the police called back with news. They had apprehended Kwame Boma. He had attempted to flee when he saw them approaching, jumping out of his back window and running through the parking lot. But the police were faster. They caught him and brought him down. When they searched his apartment, they discovered a trove of incriminating evidence, messages on his phone between him and Amma, detailed plans about the poison, fantasies about splitting Kofi's wealth, and undeniable evidence of their affair. Everything the police needed to prove conspiracy to commit murder. Kofi sank heavily onto his bed. His body suddenly weighed down by exhaustion and despair. The adrenaline that had kept him going for the past few hours was wearing off, and the full reality of what had almost happened crashed over him like a tidal wave. He had been minutes away from death. Minutes. If Essie hadn't been brave enough to scream out, he would have unknowingly drunk that poison. He would be dead or dying right now. His hands began to shake uncontrollably. His breathing became rapid and shallow. The shock was setting in. Dr. Mensah, noticing Kofi's distress, quickly administered a mild sedative to calm his nerves. Just breathe slowly, Mr. Kofi, he said gently. In and out. You are safe now. The danger has passed. You survived. Thanks to your maid, you survived. Dr. Mensah turned to Essie, his eyes filled with profound respect. Young woman, you are a true hero, he said, his voice filled with admiration. What you did today took tremendous courage. You saved a man's life at great risk to yourself. May God bless you abundantly for your bravery and your good heart. Essie felt embarrassed by all the praise. She was just a simple village girl who had done what anyone should have done in that situation. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt like someone who simply couldn't stand by and watch a murder happen. My mother always told me that evil triumphs when good people do nothing, she said quietly. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't let Master Kofi die when I knew the truth. It would have haunted me forever. Lawyer OC began explaining to Kofi what would happen next. There would be a court case. Both Amma and Kwame would be tried for attempted murder and conspiracy. With all the evidence, the poison, the laboratory results, Essie's testimony, the incriminating messages on Kwame's phone, they would surely be convicted. They would go to prison for many years. Amma would lose all rights to Kofi's property, and the marriage would be dissolved. Everything she had dreamed of having would be lost. Kofi finally asked the question that had been burning in his mind, the question that he couldn't understand. Why? Why would she do this? I gave her everything, every luxury, every comfort. I loved her. I trusted her. Was I not a good husband? Did I not provide well? What did I do wrong? His voice cracked with emotion, betraying the depth of his pain and confusion. The pain of betrayal, he realized, was far worse than any poison. The poison would have killed his body, but this betrayal was slowly killing his soul. Lawyer O.C. placed a comforting hand on Kofi's shoulder. You did nothing wrong, my friend, he said gently. Some people are never satisfied. Some people are consumed by greed and envy. You could have given her 10 times more wealth, and it wouldn't have been enough. The problem wasn't with you. The problem was with her character. She lacked gratitude, loyalty, and basic human decency. You can't fix what's broken inside someone else. This is not your fault. The news of what had happened spread through the city like wildfire. By the next morning, every newspaper had the story splashed across the front page. Billionaire's wife arrested for attempted murder. Maid saves employer's life with brave warning. The poison tea plot exposed. Television news programs showed footage of Amma and Kwame being taken to prison, their faces hidden from view. Reporters camped outside Kofi's mansion, clamoring for interviews. The story was too sensational, too dramatic to ignore. Everyone wanted to know more details. Social media exploded with discussions and debates. Some people claimed they had always known that Amma was a gold digger, that her smile never reached her eyes, and that she had only married Kofi for his money. Others were shocked and disbelieving, insisting that Amma and Kofi had seemed like the perfect couple. How could such evil hide behind such a beautiful face? Almost everyone agreed that Essie was a true hero. Her name became famous overnight. The maid who saved the billionaire. Requests for interviews came flooding in. Television stations wanted Essie to appear on their talk shows. Newspapers wanted to publish her life story. But Essie steadfastly refused them all. She didn't want fame. She didn't want attention. She just wanted to do her work and help her mother. Kofi respected her wishes. He instructed his lawyer to keep all reporters away from Essie, ensuring that she was shielded from the media frenzy. She deserved peace and privacy after everything she had been through. Days turned into weeks. The court case began, drawing intense public interest. The courtroom was packed with people every single day, all eager to catch a glimpse of the woman who had tried to poison her billionaire husband. Amma sat in the defendant's box, wearing a simple prison uniform. Her expensive clothes were gone, her jewelry was gone, her makeup was gone. She looked like a completely different person. Small, defeated, and terrified of what was to come. The prosecutor presented the evidence piece by piece, building an airtight case against Amma and Kwame. The bottle of cyanide, the laboratory results confirming that the tea was laced with poison, Dr. Mentz's expert testimony about the deadly nature of the dose. Essie took the witness stand and recounted her story, her voice clear and steady. She spoke honestly and without embellishment about everything she had seen and heard. The jury listened with rapt attention, their faces reflecting a mixture of shock and revulsion. How could someone be so evil? How could a wife do this to her husband?